There's a car that's so ubiquitous, so desirable in the car scene. The car people are paying $20, $30, $40,000 for these things. And no, it's not this BMW. It's this
one was a lot cheaper. Obviously, this was like this when I bought it, and we can't have them rolling around like this.
The car YouTube industry is a seriously wild place. On one side, you've got the absolute legends, creators who've spent a decade building real trust with us. They don't pretend to know everything. They show the blown engines and the failed projects right alongside the wins, and their communities will back them up to the ends of the earth. But then you flip the coin and get the channels pulling in massive numbers based purely on shock value, cheap hype, and zero actual substance. Car YouTube pretty much spans the entire spectrum, from hypebeasts who only care about clout and professional reviewers giving you the honest truth, to ultra-rich kids literally wrecking hypercars just for clicks. The massive gap between the channels we love and the ones we avoid isn't about big budgets or production quality. It comes down to something way more basic: respect. The creators we love treat us like smart people who actually care about cars. The ones who get ripped apart in the comments treat us like views and dollar signs. Just to be clear, this video is not a hit list. We're not here just to trash people. Instead, we are diving deep into what actually makes a creator authentically loved or genuinely disliked by looking at the real cases, the community drama, and the exact moments that built or completely wrecked these channels. Let's get into it. And if we're talking about creators who have built the most durable community-wide trust in this space, we have to start with DeMuro. That's backed by over a decade of consistent behavior that built something incredibly rare on YouTube: genuine credibility. Doug didn't start as a professional racing driver. He actually worked corporate for Porsche before writing for sites like Jalopnik, building his name on humor, honesty, and a willingness to review unusual daily drivers instead of just million-dollar supercars. When he shifted to YouTube, his format became instantly recognizable. You already know the formula, the quirks and features walkthrough. It's a methodical look at what makes a car genuinely interesting, completely free of forced enthusiasm. Then there's the DougScore. It's highly debated and occasionally wrong by community consensus, but honestly, that's exactly why people trust it. He doesn't hide behind excessive jargon, and even with his absolute favorite vehicles, he will gladly rip into their flaws. In the creator economy, trust is the ultimate currency, and Doug cashed in big when he launched his auction platform, Cars and Bids, in 2020. That transition from content to a massive marketplace is the ultimate proof of concept. People buy and sell actual cars on his platform because they trust his judgment, not because of clickbait. Just as important is what Doug doesn't do. He doesn't pretend to be an elite driver, he doesn't hype up cars he hates, and he doesn't flex his wealth. His production style is famously lo-fi, usually just Doug in a t-shirt and shorts, standing in a church parking lot with a tripod. It just feels authentic. In a genre flooded with manufacturer perks and sponsored bias, Doug's willingness to be critical has made him the default reference point for real car buyers. The community consistently points to one specific word to describe him: transparent. But transparency is only one way to build trust. Another creator took it a step further by actually fighting for his audience's rights, and that is Rich Benoit, better known as Rich Rebuilds. Rich occupies a totally unique space on car YouTube. The community's loyalty to him isn't just about entertainment. It's built on advocacy. Back in 2016, unable to afford a new Tesla, Rich bought a flood-damaged Model S for $14,000 to fix himself. But when he tried to buy parts, Tesla completely blocked him. Undeterred, he bought a second salvage car for parts, documented the process, and unwittingly sparked one of the most important consumer advocacy movements in modern automotive history. As his channel grew, so did his mission. Rich became a leading voice in the right to repair movement, fighting back against automaker policies that stop owners from fixing their own vehicles, and he actually got results. Rich pushed for these changes for 8 years, directly influencing policies and watching Massachusetts voters overwhelmingly pass expanded right to repair laws. Today, even Tesla has opened up its parts sales, with Rich noting that they allow pretty much everything now. The trust around Rich Rebuilds isn't based on a polished persona or high-end production. It's built on tangible, real-world impact. He spotted a systemic problem, fought it publicly, and won. That kind of track record earns a level of loyalty that a viral video simply can't buy. While Rich built trust by fighting a corporate system, Freddie Hernandez, better known as Tavarish, did it by doing something most car creators avoid at all costs: being completely honest about failure. Tavarish has earned a massive, dedicated following through high-stakes, risk-reward restorations, buying broken or salvaged exotic vehicles, and bringing them back to life. But what really connects with viewers isn't just the final result. It is his transparency about financial constraints, mechanical learning curves, and the absolute chaos of rebuilding a supercar without a factory safety net. While the car community can sometimes look down on video creators, Freddie handles that tension by making self-awareness his actual strategy. His own channel description reads, "I make videos about buying, modifying, and breaking cars. I also have opinions, most of which are wrong." That mindset is exactly why people trust him. By admitting he doesn't know everything, he eliminates any false authority. In a space flooded with people performing expertise they don't actually have, Freddie stands out by simply being real. Look no further than his famous McLaren P1 project. Rebuilding a hurricane-soaked, salvage title hypercar became one of the most compelling narratives on the platform, precisely because he refused to hide the setbacks, the mistakes, or the sheer scale of the challenge. If Tavarish is the king of high-stakes hypercar builds, Mat Armstrong occupies a spot in the loved column that the typical supercar crowd just can't touch. He is the car enthusiast's car enthusiast. There is no wealth flexing, no curated exotic lifestyle, and no pristine garage filled with things the average person will never lay eyes on. It is just a man rebuilding genuinely wrecked cars with visible effort and honest documentation. Mat does the actual work himself while guiding the viewer through every step of the process, even narrating parts of the build after editing to keep things crystal clear. He does an incredibly thorough job, but there is one specific detail the community points to as the ultimate reason they trust him when so many others fail the test. His thumbnails actually show the real, damaged cars he buys and rebuilds. That consistency is striking. In community threads discussing the most irritating tropes on car YouTube, Mat was repeatedly cited as the perfect counterexample. The one creator doing what everyone else refuses to do. The entire formula is beautifully simple. Show people what you're actually doing, be honest about what it costs, and don't fake your emotions. The fact that this level of basic honesty is rare enough to generate massive community gratitude says everything you need to know about the rest of the space. But when you look at the other side of this equation, the patterns of criticism in the car YouTube community are just as remarkably consistent. Enter Scotty Kilmer, perhaps the most divisive figure in automotive media. On paper, he is a titan, over 6 million subscribers, a YouTube presence dating back to 2007, and an Emmy Award from his time hosting automotive content on CBS in the mid-1990s. Yet, he has also become the focal point for some of the most sustained, specific criticism in the space. And it isn't about his personality, it is about the actual advice he dispenses to millions of people. First, there's the delivery mechanism. Scotty is famous for sensationalized clickbait videos and a shouting presentation style that viewers often describe as being berated for 10 minutes straight. That alone generates massive community pushback, regardless of whether his points are right or wrong. But the deeper, more serious issue goes way beyond his delivery. Publications like Jalopnik have published detailed takedowns identifying specific advice from Kilmer's videos as genuinely problematic. He routinely advocates for snake oil, mechanic-in-a-can head gasket sealers that do little more than gum up coolant passages, alongside quick-fix sealers for automatic transmissions and engine crankcase oil seals. These are temporary band-aids with permanent consequences. It is the kind of advice that might fly if you have zero money and even less skill, but it should never be framed as expert guidance. This gets to the absolute core of the Scotty Kilmer problem. Anytime someone calls themselves an unequivocal expert in a field changing at an exponential rate, it becomes hard to take them seriously. Modern vehicles with complex ECU architectures, software-defined systems, and highly specific manufacturer repair procedures are fundamentally different from the cars Scotty wrenched on back in the 1970s and 1980s. The absolute confidence with which he delivers his advice simply hasn't kept pace with the evolution of the machines themselves. To be fair, his massive fan base will tell you he helps everyday people handle basic maintenance and avoid getting ripped off by dealerships. That is true, and it absolutely matters. But the case against him, backed by professional technicians everywhere, is that confidently pushing outdated or potentially damaging advice to millions of trusting viewers has real-world consequences for real-world cars. In his case, those aggressive clickbait thumbnails serve as a delivery mechanism for tips that actual professionals routinely warn their customers to run away from. While Scotty gets heat for the advice he gives, Alex Hershey, better known as Supercar Blondie, faces a completely different wave of criticism. Holding the largest platform in the space with over 22 million YouTube subscribers, she is easily one of the most polarizing figures in automotive media. The community's complaint has been loud and consistent since her rise. She is simply not a car person. As far back as 2019, automotive forums and enthusiast threads have pointed out that her videos offer a basic information you could easily find on Wikipedia. Her walkarounds completely skip over engineering or driving dynamics, relying on a format optimized for social media algorithms rather than actual automotive insight. This creates a fascinating philosophical debate about what car YouTube is actually supposed to be. Her defenders point out that she opens the door to a massive, mainstream audience, arguing that accessibility is a feature and you don't need to be a hardcore gearhead to enjoy car content. But the enthusiast community's frustration is also completely valid. When the biggest creator in the space repeatedly showcases cars without driving impressions, mechanical context, or a single shred of criticism, it sets a lowest common denominator standard as the dominant model for the entire genre. Suddenly, creators trying to do deep, substantive work are forced to compete for algorithmic attention against content that requires zero actual automotive knowledge to make or consume. The ultimate proof of this is the single most persistent piece of criticism from serious car fans. No one has ever heard her say a negative thing about a car she has driven. That total lack of critique isn't just a stylistic preference. It is a built-in feature of a format dependent on manufacturer access and brand relationships, where never offending anyone is the literal price of admission to get near the keys. This is the ultimate tension of the channel. Supercar Blondie's format is wildly successful because it presents cars as spectacular, untouchable objects rather than evaluating them as machines. Whether that even counts as legitimate car content is a question the community has been loudly debating for years, with no end in sight. But while Supercar Blondie faces debate over the depth of her content, Alex Choi pushed the boundaries into a completely different kind of trouble. His case represents the literal endpoint of a dangerous trajectory in car content, the escalating stunt. For Choi, community criticism eventually transformed into a federal court case. With nearly 1 million subscribers, Choi was arrested by federal authorities after posting a video titled "Destroying a Lamborghini with Fireworks." The stunt featured a Lamborghini Huracan tearing across the El Mirage dry lake bed, while 2 women inside a low-flying helicopter shot fireworks at the speeding car. Because the video was shot on federal land without filming permits or required FAA approvals, Choi faced a federal charge of causing an explosive or incendiary device to be placed on an aircraft, an offense carrying a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. The fallout hit everyone involved. The FAA revoked the helicopter pilot's license for flying below minimum altitudes, hiding the aircraft's identification number, and operating the helicopter recklessly. Ultimately, Choi avoided prison time by entering a pretrial diversion agreement. After successfully complying with all conditions, his supervision ended, and the federal complaint was officially dismissed with prejudice. The entire situation perfectly illustrates where the logic of escalating stunt content leads when it goes unchecked. Stunt-based channels always run into the exact same wall. Last week's wild stunt becomes this week's boring baseline. The audience gets used to it, meaning the next video has to be even more extreme to get the same reaction. Firing explosives from a helicopter at a supercar is just the logical conclusion of a content style that started with simple burnouts and drifting. Long before federal law enforcement stepped in, the car community had already seen where this road was heading. Then there is Tim Burton, better known as Shmee150, whose situation is a bit different. People don't hate him or get into huge fights over him like they do with other creators. Instead, hardcore car fans call him out for one main reason. He never says anything bad about the cars in his videos. The main complaint is pretty simple. Real car enthusiasts feel like Shmee just won't or can't criticize the cars he gets to drive or buy. When a reviewer loves absolutely everything, it is hard to trust their opinion, making it tough for anyone looking for an honest review to take him seriously. It is easy to see why this happens. Shmee's whole business depends on staying friendly with car companies, getting invited to factory events, and getting early access to hypercars because the brands know he will give them good publicity. Saying something genuinely negative about a new Ferrari or Bugatti means he might lose the very access that keeps his channel going. It is more of a business problem than a personal flaw, but it still ruins the reviews. When you say every single car is amazing, you aren't really helping people figure out which ones are actually special. Car fans don't hate Shmee. They are just frustrated because someone with his huge audience and amazing access could be making much better content. Another drama showed the gap between his friendly car guy image and his actual business. Shmee's team faced a lot of backlash for messaging professional photographers and asking to use their photos for free in exchange for exposure. For a guy clearly making a lot of money off a multi-million-pound supercar collection, Asking people to work for free really annoyed the car community. It made people feel like the friendly, welcoming vibe of the channel was just a cover for a cold business reality. His fans argue that he is just a guy sharing his passion, not a serious car journalist who has to be critical. That makes sense. But it doesn't totally erase the criticism, because Shmee still acts like a car expert. You can't act like a trusted authority while also playing the card of a casual hobbyist who shouldn't be taken too seriously. Eventually, the community notices when you try to have it both ways. Looking across all of this, a clear picture emerges of what actually separates these two groups. It is not talent, production budgets, or even the quality of the cars they cover. The loved creators share a set of behaviors that look almost identical across completely different channels. DeMuro gives honest negative assessments of cars he could easily just praise. Rich Rebuilds documents failure and frustration in real time instead of editing them out. Tavarish explicitly frames his own opinions as potentially wrong, and Mat Armstrong's thumbnails show the exact state of the car he actually bought. All of them make the same underlying choice to treat the audience as adults who can handle reality, knowing viewers respect honesty far more than manufactured drama. Making that choice consistently over the years, even when the algorithm rewards the exact opposite, is what builds true community trust. This converts passive viewers into genuine advocates who defend these channels in the comments and keep watching when a build inevitably has a bad week. The most criticized creators reveal the exact same pattern in reverse. Scotty Kilmer claims the platform of an expert but uses the accountability structure of an entertainer, making confident repair claims to millions, while accepting no professional responsibility when those tips cause real problems. Supercar Blondie has the access of a journalist but uses the critical standards of a press release writer, turning exclusive access into promotional hype instead of honest assessment. Choi had the massive reach of an automotive creator but entirely abandoned the judgment of a responsible adult, while Shmee 150 holds the positioning of an authority but answers to the commercial incentives of a brand ambassador. In each case, the specific failure is unique, but the underlying structure is identical, a gap between who the creator pretends to be and what they actually deliver. The community's frustration, voiced consistently across forums like Jalopnik, Reddit, and Pistonheads, comes down to a single feeling of being quietly lied to. It is just the persistent dishonesty of clickbait thumbnails that promise things the video doesn't deliver, of expert authority claimed without expert standards applied, and of enthusiasm performed rather than genuinely felt. The car enthusiast community is uniquely equipped to notice this gap. These are people who know the difference between a good clutch pedal and a bad one, who have diagnosed engine faults at 2 in the morning, and who have real opinions on suspension geometry. Their bullshit detectors are calibrated to a high standard. When a channel's content doesn't match its premise, the community notices every single time. Ultimately, car YouTube's most loved creators aren't necessarily the most talented drivers or the most skilled fabricators. They are simply the people who decided that honesty was more valuable than scale, keeping that promise every time a glamorous shortcut appeared. DeMuro standing in a church parking lot in a t-shirt, Rich Rebuilds fighting Tesla from a Massachusetts garage, or Tavarish elbow deep in a flood-damaged McLaren P1 with no guarantee it will ever run. These aren't polished Hollywood propositions. They became beloved because they are real. The most criticized creators broke that implicit promise. Scotty broke it by delivering confident expertise that professionals argue is dangerous. Supercar Blondie broke it by presenting marketing as journalism. Choi broke it by treating public safety as a content variable, and Shmee broke it by claiming the authority of a reviewer while operating under the constraints of a brand partner. None of these are irredeemable failures, and many of these channels still hold enormous audiences who genuinely enjoy the content. But what the criticism tells us is that this is an audience whose standards are much higher than they appear, and where the memory of a broken promise outlasts any algorithm cycle. Car enthusiasts aren't passive consumers. They can spot the difference between someone who truly knows what they are talking about and someone just performing for a camera. The most loved car YouTubers earned their legacy by respecting that difference. The most criticized ones are still hoping the audience won't notice. Tuna, no Crust, signing off.